Hi, friends, and welcome back to Beyond the Classroom. I'm your host, Lisa Harding, and today I'm bringing you an incredible conversation that will open your eyes to an equally incredible career path outside the classroom. One thing I say all the time is that teachers have so many transferable skills, skills that are incredibly valuable in roles beyond the classroom. And today we're diving into one of those roles that many teachers are perfectly aligned for, even if they've never heard about it before. And that's the role of a Scrum Master. Now, if you've ever seen that title and thought, what even is that? You're not alone. A lot of people don't really understand what a Scrum Master does and how it connects to their background. That's exactly why I'm so excited for today's guest, Johnathan Vo, the founder of School of Scrum. Johnathan breaks it all down for us: what Scrum is, how it works, and why educators make such strong candidates for these types of roles. He also shares insights on how to break into this world without prior tech experience. And I also want to give a shout out to Johnathan and School of Scrum for being a sponsor inside our Facebook groups. We're so grateful for his support and shared mission in helping teachers discover new, meaningful careers. Let's dive in. I'm Lisa Harding, ex-EdTech CEO turned certified teacher career coach. It wasn't all that long ago that I was recruiting, interviewing, and hiring teachers for roles in corporate America. Teachers that ended up being some of my all-time best employees. Fast forward through my own career transition, where I left my role as CEO to become a stay-at-home mom, I now work with and empower teachers to transform their lives by turning their once distant career dreams into realities. In this podcast, I give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you do the same. If you're a burnt-out teacher or simply need a change and you're looking to create a life you love, you're in the right place, friend. Let's get started. All right, well, I am so excited to welcome Johnathan to the show today. Welcome, Johnathan.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to dive into today's topic because, at least for my audience, I think there's a lot of questions and uncertainty about what Agile and Scrum is. But before we get into those details, I would love to just hear your story. What led you to create School of Scrum, and why are you so passionate, not just about Scrum, but specifically helping teachers find this new career path?
So it's a long story. So about 3 years ago, my wife and I we went on vacation in Wisconsin to see a friend, and she just happens to be a fourth grade teacher. And we were up in the mountains. We were camping. It was beautiful. It was just us and the stars. And she told us this amazing story about how she was thinking about doing a different way of teaching, where she would split up her class into four different groups, have them autonomous so that they can teach each other, and she would just be there to facilitate. So they would create the material for them to learn from each other, teach from each other, test each other, and then also do a report at the end of the 3 weeks, right, of what they learned. It was amazing. These kids are in fourth grade, and they did all this amazing stuff. And I was talking to her, I said, you know what you're doing, right? This is called Scrum. This is what we teach in corporate America. Like how do companies take on projects where they're so big that they don't have the teams currently organized in a way that they can actually complete it? Then they start using Scrum and Agile to do that. It's a framework of how to do project management with small teams. That's all it is. And you do it every day in your teaching environment with your classes, right? So that skill set that you currently have is absolutely transferable to the corporate American environment, because what they're looking for in corporate America is a person who's patient, who's willing to help other people, and just worry about the health of the people in the team. Because the team members themselves, right, they have that knowledge, right? They're hired to have that knowledge, and they create all this amazing stuff, new and exciting stuff that they've never done before. They just need somebody there to help facilitate, keep them happy, and remove anything that's in their way, which we call impediments. And that's where the focus, that's where the real growth is. And you can see this in technology. How did a Microsoft or a Google come up with all this new stuff so fast? Well, they're organized in these small teams, and they're called Scrum teams. And that's why I think teachers have this amazing ability, amazing reputation to how working with teachers, with kids, with small teams, small environments, and just having that servant leadership focus is I think where teachers can absolutely just thrive in this environment.
I love that term that you just brought up, servant leadership, because before you even said it, as you were describing this, I'm like, yeah, this is just servant leadership that teachers have, because it takes a special, as you know, it takes a special heart to get into teaching,
Hmm.
and so I think by definition, teachers are servants and they love helping. Um, and sometimes it's hard to see that also translate into corporate America, but there are roles specifically where corporate America needs people that lead in that way, and specifically in this world of Scrum and Agile. And so for my audience, just a little bit, obviously Johnathan is the master of Scrum and Agile. I have a very small experience working with it. I led a team that used Scrum and Agile for a little bit. It kind of started
Awesome.
phasing in.
Hmm.
I was not involved in the day to day, but I feel like I have enough that I can hopefully chime in here with Johnathan as well. But I'm excited to have you as the master, because even with my experience, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like, how does all of this kind of come together? So I can't wait to like dive in a little bit more. And I know a lot of tech companies use this kind of framework. Are there other companies, or do we mainly see this in the tech industry?
Yeah, so that's the number one question I get all the time, right? I'm not techie. How am I supposed to be, how do I be successful in a tech environment if I'm not techie? Absolutely not. It started with technology. If you can imagine back in the day when we had the tech boom, right? And all the tech companies were using Scrum in order to really fast-pace development of products in these small teams. And it started out with technology. So your IT departments in companies were using Scrum and Agile and Kanban, and other business groups started taking notice, like how are they producing so much stuff so quickly without the big project plans, without the big budgets and things like that. We want to adopt that, and that's how it started becoming business agility as well as technical agility, right? So yes, your marketing departments now do Scrum teams, your HR departments do Scrum teams, your training departments do Scrum teams. Everybody does Scrum teams, right? They have multiple frameworks that they use in order to get to work on different size projects. These are small teams to do small projects that create new known unknown products, byproducts, new outside of the box thinking kind of products. So absolutely, every business group in corporate America uses Scrum or Kanban in some form or fashion. We have the software tools now that are matured enough that they're really easy to use, and it's really easy to set up. Right? You can start a Scrum team tomorrow. Right? I just need a couple of people to work with as Scrum Master, as myself, to facilitate, and I can drive that team to high performance relatively quickly.
Do you think that's a good term, like maybe a good layman's term for someone is like a Scrum Master is kind of like a facilitator? Would you say that's a good word to use?
Yes, that's 80% of your job right there is facilitating. You're that person who says, okay, I have a small class of 10 people. I need to find where we're going to have our class, what time it is, communicate everybody to be there on time, talk about only those things we need to talk about, finish up, take notes. That's that Scrum Master. So you're facilitating that. You're facilitating the conversations, and you're doing that a couple times a week. So that focus on what they're doing in that week's time frame is your job to make sure that they complete that. If you can imagine, if you or even in a classroom, if everybody finishes their homework, you know, within the week, that's a huge win. Just completing work itself is a huge win. And that's half the battle, because once you understand that the work itself, once it's completed, that's when you get the value out of it. Then you can start saying, is this really what we wanted to create? Is this worth anything? Is this really, does it look like we thought it was going to look a week ago? And if it doesn't, that's when you can make that change very quickly. See, a lot of companies can't do that because these large projects that they take on, they have so much money invested in it. So many people are working on it. They have to wait months, 3, 4, 5 months before they see something. And then once they see it, then that's when they can make a decision. Should we continue on with this because it came out the way we thought, or should we change it somehow? See, now you're going from a 1 week to make a change to 3 or 4 months to make a change, right? To be competitive in the marketplace, that person who can make a change in 1 week
Yep.
is going to be more productive and more successful, right? And rather than the other ones, that's the whole ball game right there. Is time to market.
Yeah, and I remember so I worked a long time without being in the world of Scrum and Agile and had many hours of meetings in my in my career. And I will never forget my first meeting with a team that used Scrum and Agile. Um, And I literally walked away. I'm like, that was the most organized, most efficient. That was literally the best meeting of my life. And it opened my eyes to what organization can do, like not just in a meeting, but I'm like, this is how these teams run. Because we had just been acquired by another company.
Mm,
And so our company did not use it. The new company did. And my mind was literally blown at how efficient and organized it was. And when I think of a teacher, I mean, if you just think of words that describe teacher, organized has to be like at the top of the list because teachers
right.
have to be organized to do that. So that's just another skill that kind of translates. And I know a concern that teachers have is like, well, I don't know how to program, or I don't know how you said, like, I don't know marketing, or I don't know whatever area that this framework is in, the Scrum Master doesn't need to know how to do those things. Just like in your example in the classroom, the teacher is not the one doing the homework assignments. They're just there making sure everyone stays on task. And I think that's kind of a hurdle for some teachers is they think they have to actually be the programmer.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so talk to me a little bit about like what skills that you see a teacher has now that translate. I know we kind of already said organization,
Hmm.
facilitation. Are there any other of those transferable skills that go over?
Yes, and then I want to add to what you said. It's really important, right? As if you could think about it, if you're a Scrum Master for a team of marketing folks, right, and they're creating a whole new campaign for this new vendor that they just brought on into the company, you don't know anything about that company. You don't know what they do. Neither does your team, right? Everybody's figuring it out just in time, right? Hey, we have a new thing there. We have a week to do this. Let's scramble. Let's do what we do best is just kind of like jump in and figure it out. So the Scrum Master, you normally don't have to have any of the technical knowledge or the product knowledge because it's going to change all the time. If you're doing a 2-week turnover on any type of new product, then you're never going to know it. And why would you need to know it, right? This company has hired all the brightest minds and to come together and create this product. You're just that person who brings them together, right? You have the empathy, the language, just the caring part of we're going to start something new. This is a change that we did for. We have to throw away what we did before. Change is going to be hard for folks. It's like I just spent all my time doing this, and now you're going to make me change and do it again. Yeah, you just got to pat them on the back, hold their arm, and just kind of walk them through it. And that servant leadership is just it comes out of your experiences as a teacher from your 10 years, 15, 20 years of experience, and it's very comforting. And that to a young team, to a new team, to an older team who are just like, we've done this for 3 years, bro. I know how to do it, but try it my way, right? Try it a little bit different way here so we can kind of use Agile and Scrum. Like these are all new terms to them. So yeah, it's your ability to become a Scrum Master very quickly because you have the experience of your people skills already. I just need you to teach you Scrum, which is super easy, and then I think you can pick it up very quickly and just try it. As companies look for Scrum Masters, they look for three years of experience. They're not looking for 3 years of experience in technology. They're looking for 3 years experience as a Scrum Master. So if you got certified tomorrow, you can start practicing Scrum in your class. You can practice Kanban in your class. You can practice agility in your class. Your teachers can come together and organize a couple of Scrum teams to do different things, like you do lesson planning. That is a Scrum event, right? So now you can have experiences in your classroom, in your school, while you have your day job. So you're learning both kind of professions. So that experience that companies are looking for is not technology experience. Okay, how long have you been doing Scrum? 3 years. I've been doing it at this school and that school, other projects, school summer projects. A baseball team is a Scrum team. Right? The creativity that you have to bring and to bring out just the motivation in people to do Scrum and Agile is huge because this is for most companies this is a totally new way of doing work. They don't understand it. It's pressed upon them to learn it. It's your job to teach it to them in a way that they'll enjoy it. And like you said, they're efficient, they're effective. Once you start doing it, you're like, why have we not done this our entire career, right? This is
that's exactly how I felt. I'm like,
yeah.
Where has this been my whole life? I loved it. I was so organized. Okay, so a couple terms that we're throwing out, and I'm even like, okay, what's the difference? Can you just define Scrum and then Agile? Are they like, let's just have you define what those two terms mean in relation to each other.
Yeah. Okay. So Agile is a mindset. Scrum is the actual practice of executing agility. Agile agility. Okay. Scrum Masters have that agile mindset where they're open to new ideas. They're open to change. They're very good at facilitating change. And how do they facilitate that change? Using Scrum. Scrum is a framework, kind of like project management is a framework. Scrum is a framework, but Scrum is like 1/10 the size of project management, traditional project management. So it's very easy to learn, very easy to pick up, it's very easy to start. That's why companies use Scrum, because I can organize a Scrum team and just hire one Scrum Master. That one Scrum Master can facilitate that Scrum team starting tomorrow. It takes nothing but sticky notes and a marker and a whiteboard. I kid you not. That's all you need to start a Scrum team. And I have done that for Chevron, these global companies where they didn't get it until we put out some sticky notes. I just started putting sticky notes on the wall. And then they get it. So it's really, really easy to pick up, really, really easy to start. So agility is that mindset. If you don't have that mindset and you're just practicing Scrum, then you're basically just an administrator. You're just running the meetings. You're just kind of making sure that people do their work and checking up on them. But the agile mindset is to say, yes, we're doing Scrum, but did you think about maybe doing it this way? Or let's talk about the end user here, or our audience. What are they going to get out of this as far as value? That agile mindset kind of asks those powerful questions to drive the teams forward. Right? And accept when change happens, when they get depressed or they feel let down, or they feel like the work didn't matter, you're there to help them get through that with an agile mindset, a very open mindset about change. So that's the difference. Agile's the mindset, and there's no agile test or certification or anything like that. It's just a mindset, right? So if you start doing agile in your classroom, you can put agile on your resume because you are exhibiting those things that help create and promote this mindset in the company. And then go get Scrum certified, which is very easy.
I loved your example there, and you mentioned Chevron, because I kind of keep going back to like the first companies you mentioned were like Microsoft and Google, and I think a lot of people associate it with those tech careers. But I mean, Chevron, not necessarily a tech company, and it sounds like companies don't just have one Scrum Master, right? Like they might have different Scrum, like many Scrum teams, and each team has a Scrum Master. Is that accurate?
That's right. Yeah. So a Scrum team roughly is about 8 to 10 people maximum. And that includes a Scrum Master and another specialty role called the product owner. Everybody else is helping create something. We call them developers. Whether you're developing a marketing campaign, or you're developing a new technology, or you're planning an event, like end of year school-wide event. That's a Scrum team. So if you have 100 people working on this before, and you divide them up by 10 members, that's 10 Scrum teams. Well, one Scrum Master can take maybe 1 or 2 Scrum teams max, efficiently, effectively. So you're hiring about 5 Scrum Masters for 10 teams, and that's just one department. So companies like Chevron, we have hundreds of Scrum Masters. And there is a framework to help hundreds of Scrum Masters work together effectively. It's amazing, right? So now you got like 150, 200 people in a conference room, each in their corners as small Scrum teams, and then they come together to align it all, and then they break out again to do the work, and then it's amazing. They just kind of swarm all around it. But you are just focused on that one small team. That's it.
Hey teachers, quick break in the podcast because I have something truly special for you. The Teacher Career Transition Summit is a free virtual event packed with expert advice, real success stories, and step-by-step guidance to help you explore new careers and land a job you love. It's happening on Saturday, June 14th. So if you're hearing this before then, go grab your free ticket. And if it's already passed, no worries. You can access the full replays or join a waitlist for the next one. Head on over to our website, teachercareertransitionacademy.com/summit to check out what's available now. And back to the podcast. So at these big companies, is there a Scrum Master master?
Yes. So they're called, so once we have those Scrum teams, we align them as a train. Or this train's moving one direction, same start time, same end times, all aligned. So that Scrum Master of Scrum Masters is called the RTE, the Release Train Engineer. But yes, there's a term for that too. So that's a good point. Once you start going into Scrum and Agile, there's so many more professions that are in. There's a product owner, there's an RTE, there's a product manager. I don't know what the levels you are in education, but if you're a principal or you are an administrator, there are administrative roles in Scrum and Kanban as well. You would start as a Scrum Master, get to know that, and then there are more roles that you can roll into. So there's about 15 more roles available as far as escalating your profession into Scrum and Agile, because once you get from a small company to a Chevron, right, there has to be a way to organize that, and there is now. It's been about 10 years in the making, but it's fully matured, easy to get into, and once you're getting it, you can start increasing, your knowledge and get into these roles fairly quickly.
And that's one thing we talk about at the academy often too is, in the profession of teaching, what your every year your annual salary increases, like where you're probably going to be in 10 years. Once you get into corporate America, life is just so different. There's so many different roles. You're like, people move up, they change positions, much more agility in the corporate world with where you're going in your career. So I like kind of pointing out that there are various career paths once you get into Scrum. But let's talk about that first entry level, because I know that's another big roadblock for teachers is how can I even get my foot in the door? And you've mentioned already to practice the Agile mindset and the Scrum framework within your classroom, which is phenomenal. Is there any other advice for getting that very first role? Like, is there an assistant Scrum Master, or like, is there another job that you get before Master, or you just jump right into Scrum Master?
There's no assistant Scrum Master, but there's just a Scrum Master. But here's the thing. You already have the experience as a teacher. You just have to convince the interviewer. Okay. Have you ever done lesson planning? Teachers had to teach me this through some of our webinars. Lesson planning for y'all is you start off with a planning session, right? And then you do maybe daily or weekly stand-ups or get-togethers to make sure that we're on track. And then at the end of the lesson, you do maybe a little review to see what worked and what didn't work, and maybe a retrospective to see how everybody felt about it. Is that basically what a lesson plan is?
Yeah, for a lot of teachers, yep, that's going to be a good explanation.
And what's the duration of a lesson usually?
I think that would depend on the classroom.
Okay, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks?
A week. Let's go with a week.
A week. Okay, perfect. In Scrum, your duration is 2 weeks max. So you're right around that time frame. In Scrum, there's only 4 events that you create. You do a planning session, you do a daily stand-up, you do a review at the end, and then you do a retrospective on the team itself and how they're doing. It's the exact same thing you're doing right now, right? So if you're sitting on a plane with somebody and say, hey, what do you do? Oh, I'm an educator. Really, we're great on this. And then I just started taking on Scrum. Really, what is that? And then you start talking about Scrum and Kanban and what you've done in the past in education. You've done this for many, many years. You just didn't know it was Scrum or Kanban or Agile. So yes, it's going to be you got to start out with getting your certification, learning what Scrum and Agile is, identifying where your strengths are with that and your experiences, and start creating your story and building your exit strategy. So then every conversation you have, you can talk to anybody in technology, they will know what Scrum and Agile is, right? And then you can ask them, with my personality, do you think I would make a great Scrum Master? And I kid you not, they will tell you make the best, awesomest Scrum Master ever, because we love our teachers. And if I had my teacher in my professional classroom to help me learn, that would take me back to my childhood, and that's the environment that we're looking for. It's just to have that just fun environment where we can take on small chunks of work and feel really good about it, because The product owner, the other person in this one, they are responsible for the work, the scope of what they're teaching, what we're bringing in. So they take care of all that. Another person takes care of all the budgeting. Another person takes all of this. You're just focused on the team to help that team really complete something that they committed to, and then we'll do that every single week, every single 2 weeks, for the rest of the year, for the many years that we're going to be together. That team is meant to be long-lived, meaning that's a class that you're going to have for multiple years. So you're going to get really comfortable with these folks and help them build and learn and grow and become just that high-performing team that everybody wants to be like. And then you're going to help other teams do the same. And that's all you're going to do.
Could we talk a little bit about like the day-to-day of a Scrum Master, and then like kind of practical aspects? So it seems like since this might be common in a lot of tech companies, it seems like there might be some remote jobs, or are you seeing, like, is this a job where there's a lot of remote ones, or are they more like in person? And then the other part of it would just be like, can you outline what a day in the life of a Scrum Master would look like?
Sure. So Agile and Scrum was around before COVID. Those companies who started adopting it early did really well with it. And when COVID hit, they're the ones who thrived because they were used to doing stuff remote. This framework's very easy to do remote, and they were very successful. Then every company had to pick it up because of COVID. So now it's everywhere. So a lot of Scrum jobs are in person, remote, and hybrid. So you can do all three. Just right now, we could have a Scrum meeting right now, and that's all you would need. So in a day for a Scrum Master, let's say in a week, okay, because we have that week time frame to do work, and there's 4 events. On Monday, I would hold a 3-hour session with our team, just 3 hours, and we're going to decide on what we're going to work with in this week, okay. And then Tuesday, we'll have a 15-minute stand up. That's it, 15 minutes in the morning. Just to it's a check-in to see what we're working on and see how you're doing with it. If you have any issues, I can help remove. Wednesday, we'll do a 15-minute stand-up. Thursday, we'll do a 15-minute stand-up. Friday, we'll do a 1-hour review, meaning, okay, let's show us show and tell now. Show me exactly what you created. And I will invite our sponsors, our business owners, people who are paying for this, to be in the room to see what you created so they can give you feedback. Is this really what I wanted? The website looks kind of weird. I didn't like the colors. Can you make the changes in the colors? Absolutely. Can we add this to that? I love this. Can you take this out? Yes. And that's what we're going to incorporate into our next week's work, right? So that feedback drives the next part of the product. That's why the product is always valuable. Like, you can make that product available to the consumers immediately after that 1 week. It won't be great, but it's enough to get started, to get feedback. And then you start building on it and building on it and building on it. Versus other projects where you have to create it all before you can see what you create at the end, and then you get the feedback. And sometimes it's too late because something changed, right? We know things are going to change. So that's when you're like building a bridge where you don't want anything to change. This is like building something newer. Yeah, so that's it, right? You start off with a 4-hour meeting maximum. Okay? That's what Scrum is. When you're a Scrum Master, you are facilitating, you're time boxing, making sure that it's effective meeting. You have a 15-minute daily stand-up. And at the end, you have a 1-hour review and a 1-hour retrospective meeting to see, as a team, how would we like to make changes so that we can operate better as a team. That's it. That's all you need to do.
So those days that you have like a 15-minute meeting, the meeting's over. What do you do for the other 7 hours and 45 minutes of your, like, what are you doing? Like, are you just planning for the next meeting, or do you have project tasks?
So there are some project tasks, but we don't really do a lot of project administrative stuff because first of all, we have a tool, we have a software application that it's all in there and it's being contributed by all the team members. So you're really not doing anything in there with the work itself. Okay. One is to be really good with the tool, and it's called Jira or ADO, and we teach that in our course too. It's not hard. It's all free. You just need to know what to learn and how to apply it. It's kind of like Microsoft Excel. It has so many functions in it. I could run a company with Excel, but you only need to learn like 5 or 6 things and you can be a powerful user in Excel. So you just need to learn those kind of things in there. So the tool's good to learn. Scrum is good to learn. And then once you finish your 15-minute daily stand-up, now you're available to the team. Right? Now you can sit down with Johnathan and say, how's it going? Let me walk you through this. Oh, you're having problems with the tool? Let me teach you a little bit more of this. How are you doing? you're having a problem with this vendor or this person, this manager, let's go talk to them, right? That's the personal time that you give to the teams to remove impediments. So they always have somebody supporting them while they just focus doing the work. And some people
Okay.
don't get that. So what do you do all the time? Well, it's people skills are hard. I mean, not everybody can make a good Scrum Master. When we had COVID, a lot of project managers, program managers in the corporate environment, they started learning Scrum and Agile, started doing it. And the problem was that I saw was that they're very controlling because they are responsible for the project. They're responsible for the teams. And in doing that, I think they kind of inhibit the imagination of what can be done by the teams. Teachers aren't like that. You're just whatever you got. Let me hear it, so I can help you develop that. And that's what Scrum Masters do, right? Yes, I'm going to give you a problem. You're going to solve it, but there's probably 10 different ways to solve this. And we do 5 of the 10, then we can show that to our clients, and they pick one of those, and they love it. Versus the one that we tried to create for them to kind of fit it into a square box, then we may get a good response, but we want a great response. I mean, we want something that will delight them to the point where they're going to come back and just continue paying us to do more and more and more and more all the time. That drives the team. So yeah, all that time that you have extra is to spend with the teams to help figure out what impediments there could be and think forward. You don't worry about the work because they got all that. You just help them with the tool and let them be that and ask those powerful questions about, can we take this to the next level? What if I was this? What if I was that? I'm a mother. I'm a father. I do this. I would be the consumer for this. What about this? So drive that imagination.
That sounds really exciting. I mean, I feel like this is such an interesting career path for a lot of people. So at this point, I mean, I'm ready to sign up to become a Scrum Master myself. So other folks that are like me that are like, this is really interesting. Like, what's my next step? Can you tell us about how School of Scrum works and like what someone would expect, working with you would be like?
Oh yeah. So we developed this program to be more boot camp and do it yourself. So we're going to start off once you join. I don't know what the pricing is right now, but it's a monthly program. You're going to get immersed into a week boot camp, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We're going to do a 1-hour day. I'm going to really go through what Scrum is. So you're going to love this. How big are the textbooks that we have to use to learn different things?
I mean, so big you don't want to put them in your child's backpack anymore. Have them carry them on their back.
I feel so bad for them when I see them walking out to the bus. It's like, are you kidding me? That backpack is the size of their bodies. Well, kids. The Scrum Guide. Look this up. The Scrum Guide, which is the source of all that is Scrum, is only 10 pages long. The application of Scrum is what you need to learn. The practice of Scrum as a framework is 10 pages. If you can learn 10 pages worth of Scrum knowledge, and I can teach you the rest of it, real world experiences and skills, that's where you're going to make a killing as a Scrum Master. Okay, so it's 10. You're going to get tested on 10 pages, but they can extrapolate a lot of those 10 pages, right? Scenario based and other things like that. So we need to learn that. But you're only getting tested on 10 pages worth of work for that certification, for that Scrum Master certification. Crazy, 10 pages.
So do you facilitate the certification, or do you prepare everyone and then the certification is through like a national certification organization, or how does that work?
So you have to get the certification from a professional certification company. I think there's only 2 or 3 out there. And I have all of them, so I can take you through them. So I'll teach you the 10 pages of Scrum, really the fundamentals. And then I'll teach you what they're looking for to pass the exam, which is a little bit more work. It's about 3 hours worth of videos and maybe 120 pages worth of reading. Okay, we'll practice that. You'll see how that identifies what you're currently doing now. We'll build that skill set in your mind, that agility, and then help you take the exam. After you take the exam and you're certified, yes, then we can start teaching you the software application that you're going to be using in corporate America. It's called Jira, Jira. There's no secrets. Everybody knows what it is. You can look it up. You can get it for free too. So I'll show you how to use that. We'll go through examples of that in our bootcamp class. After you learn the certification, then I'll show you another framework called Kanban, which it aligns very well with Jira and Scrum. So now you have those 3 skills. So you can go any conversation that you talk about agility, Scrum, and Kanban, and they will know that you know what you're doing as far as a Scrum Master. Because all teams in corporate America, they will use Scrum along with Kanban and Jira as a software application. So once you get to that point, then I think the sky's the limit. Then you can start really creating your exit strategy, redoing your resume to really talk to servant leadership, working with small teams. Where I'm sure you do more things than just being in the classroom. Maybe you have like summer events. You have all these things. You're scheduling, you're aligning. All these things that is Scrum and Agile. We just need to rewrite the resume just a little bit so it kind of resonates to the actual job that you're looking for. Yeah, and let you just yourself shine through as a teacher. So
I love it. I love it.
excited.
So what about some final advice for teachers listening? They're intrigued but nervous. What advice would you give for them to encourage them to explore this path?
I said be nervous, but I guarantee you the people in your Scrum team are more nervous than you are because they don't know anything about it, but they have to do it, and you're going to make it fun for them. Don't think of a Scrum Master as a job. Scrum is a part of a bigger movement in doing small projects. And you're looking at small companies who are taking this on now. Like right now, I'm working for a company. It's rather small, only $4 billion, but they're just now adopting Scrum. When you hear the news like, oh, Scrum's, people aren't doing it anymore, Agile, this, and don't think about that. You have to learn the basics first and then get into the culture. So then you really understand, is this the right thing for me? And we're talking about one exam and a couple videos that you can watch and get certified. Okay, so get started, learn it, have that as part of your vocabulary so that you can talk about it with people in technology. Hey, you're in technology, do you know anything about Scrum? And let them define it for you and then feel comfortable with that and then ask them, do you think I would be a good Scrum Master? I guarantee you they're gonna say yes. I love the way you talk, you're such a great communicator, you could probably run a Scrum team, no problem. Right? They may not even know what Scrum is, but they've been a part of a company that has been using Scrum. So yeah, absolutely. Ask around, learn a little bit about the Scrum guide, download it, it's 10 pages. If that sets your mind at ease, come join the program, hang out with us and just kind of learn it. And then, we'll be there to help you along the way.
I love it. Well, thank you, Johnathan. This was so exciting to learn about a new career path that many teachers could be well qualified for just based on their personality alone, and then having you to kind of guide them through the skills and the practical application sounds like such a great fit. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right, friends, I hope today's conversation gave you a whole new perspective on what's possible beyond the classroom, and maybe even sparked your curiosity about roles like Scrum Master that you hadn't considered before. Huge thanks again to Johnathan Vo for joining us and helping demystify the world of Scrum and Agile. If you're looking to learn more, be sure to check out School of Scrum. I'll drop the link in the show notes. And if you're in our Facebook groups, you'll likely see him there too, as one of our valued sponsors. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and check the show notes for other free resources and goodies to help you on your career journey. Until next time, remember, friends, the journey is just the beginning. Embrace the adventure.